Today morning we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 14, King Chitraketu's Lamentation, text number 11 and 12. 11 does not have purport. I'll just read the translation and we'll together recite the verse number 12. तस्य भार्या सहस्त्राणां सहस्त्राणि दशा भवन शांता निकश्चापि नृपो न लेभे तासु संततिम. Translation: This Chitraketu had 10 million wives, but although he was capable of producing children, he did not receive a child from any of them. By chance, all the wives were barren. Text number 12, please kindly repeat. Rupodarya vayo janma Rupaudarya vayo janma Viddeshwarya shriyadibhi Viddeshwarya shriyadibhi Sampannasya gune sarvesh Sampannasya gune sarvesh Chinta vandhya paterabhut. Word to word translation, please kindly repeat. Rupa, with beauty. Audarya, magnanimity. Vayaha, youth. Janma, aristocratic birth. Vidya, education. Aishwarya, opulence. Shriya adibhi, wealth and so on. Sampannasya, endowed. Gune, with good qualities. Sarve, all. Chinta, anxiety. Bandhyapate, of Chitraketu, the husband of so many sterile wives. Adbhut, there was. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Abhayacharna Aravinda Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: Chitraketu, the husband of these millions of wives, was endowed with a beautiful form, magnanimity and youth. He was born in a high family. He had a complete education and he was wealthy and opulent. Nevertheless, in spite of being endowed with all these assets, he was full of anxiety because he did not have a son. Purport: It appears that the king first married one wife, but she could not bear a child. Then he married a second, a third, a fourth, and so on. But none of the wives could bear children. In spite of the material assets of Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shri, birth in an aristocratic family with full opulence, wealth, education, and beauty, he was very much aggrieved because, in spite of having so many wives, he had no sons. Certainly, his grief was natural. Grahastha life does not mean having a wife and no children. Chanakya Pandit says, Putra hinam graham shunyam. If a family man has no son, his home is no better than a desert. The king was certainly most unhappy that he could not get a son, and this is why he had married so many times. Kshatriyas especially are allowed to marry more than one wife, and this king did so. Nonetheless, he had no issues. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namao Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Chitraketu, the husband of these millions of wives, was endowed with beautiful form, magnanimity and youth. He was born in a high family. He had a complete education and he was wealthy and opulent. Nevertheless, in spite of being endowed with all these assets, he was full of anxiety because he did not have a son. So this is a very typical example which breaks down or shatters into pieces the hope of a materialistic person. Because every materialistic person, he thinks, if I have wonderful facilities and opulences, I can be happy. I will not have any problems. But here we are seeing the king of the entire planet Earth with such beautiful form, wealth, opulence, 10 million wives, my God. He must be a great person. still he had such a anxiety that he was not at all happy. We'll see in the further few 5-6 verses that when Angira Muni comes and with a warm heart he welcomes him, gives him a seat to sit on his own throne, and he sits at his lotus feet, worships his lotus feet, and serves him very nicely, and seeing the humility and hospitality of the great king, Angira Muni was very pleased, very happy. But he sees the face of Maharaj Chitraketu is very pale, is full of, there is no sign of a happiness on his face. So he starts inquiring, is everything all right? Your kingdom is all right? You have sufficient money? Everything, whatever possible reasons are there, he covers. Although Angira Muni knows, but he doesn't very specifically says about, do you have a child? He doesn't say that. He wants to know from the king. So he inquires, what is wrong? Why you are not happy? And the king reveals his heart, says that although I have everything, but I don't have issue, I don't have a child, son. So it's very important principle we need to learn, that however hard we try to settle with ease and happiness in the material world, the design of the material world is we will always have some anxiety, some problem to deal with. And this is Krishna's very special mercy. Because if the world is wonderful here, out here, then who will want to go to the spiritual world? There are so many fairy tales, we hear in childhood, or there are so many movies people make in different ideas with the concept of they lived happily ever after, like that concept. We see such things because that's aspiration, that's a desire, deep down desire in the heart of every living entity that he wants to be happy. And unfortunately, because the situation of the material world is such that there will be something which will trouble you, which will bring you anxiety, which will make you sleepless. And this is very special mercy of Krishna. Krishna has designed this world as Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. Very boldly proclaimed, stamping this material world as Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. It is his mercy actually, because of which we have a desire in our heart that I want to end this miserable existence. Otherwise we will not aspire for some solution of what problems we are going through. And that's why Lord Brahmaji makes a very profound and very important statement in his prayers. Jai Shri Krishna Balram Shri Radha Sham Sundar Lalita Vishaka Shri Gaur Nitai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Brahmaji says, Tattenukampam susamikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. He says, Tatte anukampa susamikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam atma kritam vipakam. Because we have committed so many sinful activities in our past life and in the present life, we don't know what is the count. So surely there will be sufferings coming to our way in our life. There will be difficulties, there will be obstacles. But one who understands that these are happening because of his own misdeeds, and he folds his hands, Ridvag Vapurbhir Vidadham Namaste Jivetayo Mukti Pade Sadaya Bhag. He folds his hands and says, Krishna, thank you so much for whatever troubles you are giving me. But I am simply waiting for your mercy, causeless mercy to be bestowed upon me. I thank you for all the sufferings, difficulties which you have kindly sent. When one has such a heart where he doesn't complain or doesn't blame Krishna for the problems or the difficulties he is facing, Krishna says, Brahmaji says that this person has a right to achieve liberation. That is his rightful claim. Jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhak. That is his claim. He's right, he should get liberated because of having such a heart. It's easy to advise others. Generally we have tendency to advise others. Whenever somebody comes with a problem, we have solution ready for that. It's good to advise, or it's easy to advise, but when it comes to one's own life and somebody else comes and gives us advice that, my dear friend, don't worry, it's all right, because this material world is like this only, there will be problems, just go through it. It's very difficult. Person feels, oh, why this problem has come in my life? I'm a devotee of Krishna. I'm chanting 16 rounds. For so many years I'm rendering such wonderful services. Why difficulties are coming in my life? And in fact, devotee says, if difficulties are not coming in my life, that means Krishna is not watching me. That's a totally different perception of a devotee. Kunti Maharani says that let the difficulties come. Why she is saying? Because she understands that when difficulties are there, Krishna is watching us. He is there with us. Actually, difficulties are great benedictions. Krishna, if he is merciful on someone, he disturbs his life. Because unless Krishna disturbs one's life, one's anarthas will not go away. The misgivings of the heart will remain intact if one is peaceful and happy in his life. Because why he will struggle then? Why he will call out, Krishna, please help me? He will not call out. Such a prayer, helpless prayer, will not come from his heart. So therefore, it's to our advantage. If difficulties are there, that means Krishna is there with us. We should feel so grateful to Krishna that, Krishna, thank you for being with me. I know you are putting me into such difficulties. Let me fix myself on rendering the prescribed devotional service given to me by you and your representative. And by that, surely you will shower your causeless, unlimited mercy on me. So this is how a devotee welcomes a particular difficulty or a particular problem which he is going through. And this is very important. There should be difficulties and problems in a devotee's life. Should be. If it is not there, it's a very serious concern. Really, it's a very serious concern. Because one will tend to become cozy, relaxed, lazy in his devotional service. So therefore, of course, we don't have that very high elevated consciousness, so we may not pray to Krishna that, Krishna, give me difficulty, because we know we already have done so much rubbish in past lives and this life. Surely there will be difficulties. So we don't have to specially ask for that. It will come anyways. But when it comes, let us increase our dependency and beg for the strength from Krishna to go through that difficult time, not leaving the shelter of his lotus feet, not leaving the process of devotional service. Difficulties are most welcome. A devotee welcomes the difficulties because he understands that there is something within my heart. Krishna wants to pluck it out. And something from the heart has to be plucked out means there should be surgery, there should be operation, there should be cut, there should be pain. Otherwise, how that whatever is there in the heart will go away? So there should be suffering, there should be pain, distress. And same thing is happening with Chitraketu. Why this Chitraketu story is being told by Shukadeva Goswami? Why Sutta Goswami is narrating this story? Because Parikshit Maharaj has asked that how is it that a great demon, Vritrasur, he got the exalted position of being elevated to the spiritual kingdom? How is it possible? This is totally contrary. A demon means he is in the mode of passion and ignorance. His life is full of sin. He is always troubling others and killing others. How such a person can be elevated to the exalted position of being an eternal devotee, associate of Lord? How is it possible? And the answer, the story, the previous life of Vritrasur is been, said. And this is the incident how Maharaj Chitraketu has turned into to become a great devotee. To have such a consciousness which we have just went through this wonderful pastime and the teachings of Vritrasur, how he was a devotee and how he was urging Indra to have faith in the words of Lord Narayan and take that thunderbolt which was created with the bones of Dadichi Rishi, the great ascetics, the power and the Narayan Kavach. So with that, thunderbolt, he cut the neck of Vritrasur. Before even completing the cutting of the neck, Vritrasur had already left the body. But the point is, this is a turning point. The greatest anxiety of Chitraketu Maharaj of not having a son. A person marries one time, then second time, then third time, fourth time, I don't know how many times, Prabhupada didn't mention. He had 10 million wives. Means you can understand how much pain he must be feeling in his heart to have a son. One time not successful, second time not successful, third time, so many times. He has married. It doesn't say whether he married in a group or something like that or individually till the end. It's not mentioned here, but surely he has taken a great amount of effort to have a child. And it's important, a Kshatriya should have a son, because otherwise if he doesn't have somebody to inherit the kingdom after he goes away, what will happen to the citizens? Because it's a responsibility of Kshatriya to appoint a next Kshatriya who is following the religious principles, who is following dharma, who abides by the counsel of the board of the Brahmanas and rules according to the religious principles. Because everyone, the citizens, are dependent for their spiritual advancement on the quality of a Kshatriya who is leading them. If a Kshatriya is nonsense, is a selfish, egoistic person, then there will be no practices of religious principles adhered in the kingdom, and nobody will be elevated. So therefore it is very serious responsibility of a Kshatriya leader to appoint the next leader. It's very serious responsibility. And if this doesn't happen, an unqualified person comes, then we know the story of Maharaj Angad's son, Vena. He was a rogue and thief himself. That's why in the entire kingdom there were no rogues and thieves. Because the king himself is a big thief, rogue. So everyone was afraid, they were hiding. So if such a person comes, where is the practice of religious principles come into way? There is no way. Everyone will be just standing, because this material world is such a place that everything goes down. That's the nature of the material world. And if something positive is not given, naturally everyone is going to go down. So therefore, it's a very serious responsibility of a Kshatriya to have a leader. And that's why he was greatly concerned, not just because my whole property will go away now if I don't have a son. I have to find out somewhere else, or somebody else who is powerful may grab the position. Not because of attachment to the wealth or the property or the position or the kingdom he had. He was concerned about the child, but he was concerned about the child for succession, so that people are taken care of, because that's the prime duty of a Kshatriya. Kshata trayate iti Kshatriya. He has to protect his citizens from being harmed and show them the right path of religious practices. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada brings down the principle to practical life of a grahastha, a devotee who is married. And he quotes Chanakya Pandit saying, Putra hinam griham shunyam. That if somebody is a householder and he does not have a son or a child, then there is no meaning. Why it is so? That was a question in my mind. Because in Krishna consciousness we don't understand, or we don't give so much of emphasis. Rather, we give emphasis on elevation of spiritual consciousness. Then why such a quote of Chanakya Pandit is been quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the Srimad Bhagavatam purport? That means it has a very significant role in the development of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada will not bring out such a point in the discussion. A householder, if he does not have a child, he will have great difficulty in advancing in spiritual life. Why? Because generally a woman is considered less intelligent because of having a very strong sense of bodily conception. And having a very strong sense of bodily conception brings mode of passion and ignorance into very prominent place. And when such a situation is there, it is very difficult to advance or make advancement of such a person unless there is a practical service available. Because the modes, especially when one is in a lower modes, it is very important that he is properly engaged. And one of the most proper engagement of a mother or of a lady or a wife is to raise a child. Because a male person or a husband, he is more busy, not exactly busy, but his duties are such that he is engaged in occupation. At the same time, he is engaged in elevating himself, his own consciousness. So therefore, it is very important that a wife has a proper engagement. And if wife doesn't have a proper engagement, then husband has to give more time to the wife, and that may not lead to the advancement, maybe degradation. I am not saying that this is a strict rule, because when the wife is very advanced in consciousness, then such a problem doesn't come. So, The situation is when one is progressing in devotional service, then. And if he is already elevated in Krishna consciousness, then such a difficulty won't happen, because everyone will be engaged, both husbands and wife will be engaged in elevating their own consciousness, and they'll focus more on their own services. In that sense, the wife will have some other services as well. Besides, if she doesn't have a son or child, then she will have some other engagement. But if she has to be happily engaged, she has to be elevated. Then only this is possible. If she is not elevated, then she needs a child, because child is an instrument for the purification of husband and wife. Krishna uses the child to purify the husband and wife. And that is not there, then Krishna has to arrange something else. So, Lord Krishna's workings are very special. It takes time to learn and understand the depth and the vastness of how Krishna arranges purification of one individual soul. It's very intricate. Our mind is not very sharp that way, by which we can appreciate and understand to the extent what Krishna thinks and works. But to small degree, whatever I was able to understand and contemplate, and whatever I have heard, I'm just expressing myself in why Prabhupada is pointing out such a principle. Although in Krishna consciousness, we don't give such emphasis on this aspect. But it's very important why Prabhupada has brought out this point. Because generally, the child is meant for purification of father and mother. And through the help of child, the father and mother are elevated in their Krishna consciousness. And they have to, because if they have to raise their child in Krishna consciousness, they have to themselves grow. So therefore, it is very important that before having a child, the father and the mother, or the husband and the wife, they prepare themselves very meticulously to have a proper child, so that the child will be a gift or a benediction for themselves to advance in Krishna consciousness, and as a service, they will be able to very easily raise such a child which is born with so much of contemplation and prayers and devotional tapasya the husband and wife gone through. So this is very significant aspect. Every individual has to give emphasis on that. There is a proper training husband and wife should go through, so that they can train the child also. Recently, one devotee was saying, not about himself but about their relative, some problems in the relationships. So they were telling me the situation, that how the mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, how they have a difficulty in relationships. So when I was hearing that situation, I felt that how much it is important that one is trained to be what he is. How it is important. Because we just, by the flow of the time, we just become a child and a boy and an adult and a husband and a father and a grandfather. As the flow of the time goes, we just tend to take these positions. But just because time is flowing doesn't mean that we are qualified to be in that position. We need training ourselves to know how to become a husband, to know how to become a wife, to know how to become a father, to know how to become a mother, to know how to become a grandfather, grandmother. This is very important. This training is very important. Because if the training is not there properly, and if sufficient amount of maturity in terms of detachment and devotion is not there, one cannot perform the function of what he is in that position. It's not possible for him. And then there will be hundreds of issues, problems, especially relation problems will come, manifest. Because one is not mature, one doesn't understand what is his role being in that position, how he should conduct himself, how he should behave himself. He doesn't know. And there will be difficulties in relationships. So therefore, I felt how much important it is to train ourselves first in the proper conduct of what we are. What is our position? What is our role? What is our responsibilities? How should we behave? How should we conduct? So important to have that training ourselves. Then we can train others. People so much talk about, we have wrong teachers in the schools and educations. So many problems are happening, child abuse and things like that, And people are thinking in that direction to have a character. The teachers should have character. People are talking about these things in the circles, education circles, that we should hire teachers who have character, who are good person. They should have education also, they should have ability to teach also, but more important, they should have a character, a proper character. This is training. Having a proper character means this is a training. He should be trained. Without training, how he will train others? I remember that a small incident. One widowed lady, she had a son, young son, and that son had a great longing for sweets. Always, every day, daily basis, he wanted sweets to be, for eating. So mother was very concerned, and she came to know that there is a great sage, some sadhu is staying just outskirts of the village. So she felt maybe I should take my son to him, and when the sage will tell my child that don't eat so many sweets, it's not good for you, maybe he will hear. So with that intention, she went to the great sage. And the saint was sitting there doing his spiritual activities, and the widowed mother went and offered obeisances and requested that I have come with a difficulty, please kindly help me. So he said, what is your difficulty? She said, my child, he eats lot of sweets. So please kindly instruct him not to eat sweet. Then he said, okay, come after 1 week. She was surprised. Why 1 week? Just he has to open his mouth and say, my dear child, don't eat sweets. But she didn't ask, but she was little, respect was also there, and she felt maybe this is not a proper question to ask, that why you are calling me after 1 week. I have taken shelter, so whatever he says I should follow. Okay, she went back. After 1 week she came, and she said that, please kindly instruct my child to not to have sweets. Then he looked at the widowed mother and he said, come after 1 week. She was again, okay. Then she offered obeisances. She went back, although so many questions were, hovering in her mind, but she didn't ask why. After 1 week, she came, again offered obeisances and said, my dear, great sage, please kindly, instruct my child. And the great sage, he said that, my dear child, please don't take sweets. It is not good for your health. And the child heard it, and he said, okay, since you are telling me, then I will not eat sweets. That's it. Finished. Done. But the questions were going on in the mind of the widowed mother. She could not help out. She opened her mouth and she said that, my dear great sage, such a simple thing you did and my child agreed also. Why didn't you do this 2 weeks before? Why you took 2 weeks for that? Then very mercifully the great sage said, he revealed his heart. He said that, my dear mother, I did not say at the first place because I was also eating sweets. So if I am eating sweets, how can I instruct someone not to eat sweets? So I took 1 week not to eat sweets. I stopped eating sweets. So it took 1 week and I was not eating sweets for 1 week. But when you came second time, I still felt that although I have not eaten sweet, but that hankering or the desire for eating sweet is still there in my heart. So I should not speak now. I have to work upon that desire. So I asked for 1 week more so that I can work on that desire in my heart. And when I am freed from that inclination, from the desire to have sweet, now I am instructing your son, don't have sweets. And because of having that purity in my heart, Krishna is empowering my words to enter into the heart of your child and convincing him to not to eat sweets. There is nothing big miracle what I did. I just made myself more purer and more transparent to become the via media of Krishna's blessings or mercy to flow through me to the individual, so that he will be benefited and he will accept it and his life or heart will be transformed. So this is very important, because in our Krishna consciousness movement we see parents have great difficulties in training the children in Krishna consciousness. Great difficulty. So many times they feel that when our child was a child, he was a great devotee, wonderful devotee. Whenever we used to offer obeisances, he also used to offer obeisances. Whenever we used to take bead bag to chant, he also used to put his finger, although he was not chanting, but at least he was putting finger inside the bead bag. But as he is growing, we are seeing he is more inclined towards the materialistic thing and he is not so much inclined for spiritual practices. He doesn't feel like going towards devotees, sitting in the Bhagavatam class or things like that. Why? Why such a thing is happening? And the reason is because we ourselves are not trained to have proper children, and therefore we have no ability to train the children also. So therefore it is very important that we have proper training ourselves to become proper father and mother, or grandfather or grandmother, or father-in-law or son-in-law or mother-in-law, or whatever, or daughter-in-law, because every one of us have a different role to play in this world. So it's very important that we are properly trained in our conduct, in our position, what we are holding, so that we'll be able to do proper service to others. So this is very important. So putra hinam graham shunyam. This is a very significant statement which Prabhupada has brought, although it's a kind of a moral instruction, or a kind of, because Chanakya Pandit, although he was a great Brahmana, learned Brahmana, but many of the principles are for the social human existence. So social human existence may not be very specifically applicable in the spiritual life, because we see in our Krishna consciousness movement there are many couples who doesn't have children, but they are wonderfully going on in their Krishna consciousness. But the principle holds true, because in order to train others, one will be tending himself to be trained. One will become more purer in order to make dependents more purer in Krishna consciousness. So this is very serious responsibility of father and mother, that they themselves become wonderful devotees, so that they will inspire their children to become wonderful devotees. Thank you all very much for your kind attention. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की, शील प्रभुपाद की, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे।